Good evening, Internet. This is John McDevitt from Vancouver Island University. I am a student practical nurse, and I'm doing a community assessment on my local community. So, welcome to my video. Hello everybody, and welcome back. At this point, I'd like to introduce this video in a little bit more detail, introduce the concept of the video and how the video is going to unfold. So this video is going to be done in a two-part series. The first part of this video is going to be a tour of Shawnigan Lake, where I will be showing the businesses, community dynamics, and the accessibility of the village. The second portion of the video is going to be the assessment part. This part will be done from the viewpoint of an elderly woman who is immobilized or has mobility issues, and how that being out here in Shawnigan Lake can affect her. In doing so, we'll be talking about the determinants of health that are affecting her ability to stay here in the village. So during this video, we will be doing a tour of the area. So let's go and take a look and see what the local Shawnigan Lake village has to offer us. Okay, now welcome to the tour part of Shawnigan Lake Village. So right now, as you can see, Aiken and Fraser, that is one of the local little stores in the village. There is a little place called Shawnigan Jen's where you can get sushi and tempura and things like that. There's the Shawnigan Garage. Right in front of you now is the barber shop and the Rexall Pharmacy. Here is a look at Steeple's Fine Dining Restaurant, and as I'm panning along, there is a view shot of the road and just some of the sidewalks in town. There's very few sidewalks, and now the local post office. Everything is within probably about a 5 to 10 minute walk of my home. These two slides show the fire hall in Shawnigan Lake. I believe it's fire hall number 1. There's the second one out west Shawnigan Lake. Here is the local museum in the village. It offers information to people who would like to come visit it about the industry that once thrived here in Shawnigan Lake. Shows you the historical information on the old sawmill that was here in town. Here we're now at Shawnigan Lake Family Practice. As well as the family practice, there's also a dentist office in town. Here are some of the walking paths that are here in Shawnigan. This is out at the Old Mill Park, which is not far from town or outside of town, just down the street. And it offers great hiking trails and walking paths if you want to walk your dog, and great beach access. There is also a playground for small children. This park is right in the village, and it's the Shawnigan Wharf Community Park. This is where the government wharf is, where people can launch their boats, tie their boats up, and spend the day at the beach. There are picnic area here, and there are volleyball nets here. It's quite busy in the summertime. Parking can be a bit of a pain, as there's a lot of boaters that like to come down here, and so yeah, you better come in the morning if you want to get a parking spot. This little park is just on the side of the road as you're coming into the village, opposite the fire hall. Here is a picture of bulletin board and signage that offers information on the history of Shawnigan Lake, and the lake map and community map, as well as a listing of different community groups and stores, shops, and I believe sponsors that help to provide or helped with this park. And here we are back in the village. As you can see, Shawnigan Lake is a pretty self-sustained, self-sufficient community. The only downfall is there's no longer a bank. There did used to be a bank in town, but that has moved out and moved down to Mill Bay. There's also actually a nursing home in town, which is great. It's not a large bed facility, but it does offer a lot of services and can help those who are aging. Um, and yeah, this is it's a great little family town to live in. There is some international students that come because there are two private schools here in village, or not right in the village, but here in Shawnigan Lake. One of them is Shawnigan Lake Boys. The other one is Maxwell. I believe it's Maxwell now, or used to be called Maxwell. And both of those bring in jobs. That brings in helps to sustain or helps the local economy and brings international students. So you will hear other people speaking different languages. They're walking down the street, and the young kids and stuff like that. But it's a nice, safe, happy community. I quite enjoy it. Okay, the first determinant of health I want to talk about is transportation. Yes, there is bus service in Shawnigan, but buses only run every few hours. And if you need to get down to Victoria, they're only first thing in the morning and later on, and they only come home in the afternoon. And the other problem is with the bus stops is that there are no real covered bus stops. They all seem to be out in the open and with no cover. Secondly, I'd like to mention the roadways. The roadways seem to be a bit narrow, and the painted lines aren't really visible, and the side shoulders are quite soft. So if a person is in a wheelchair, that can pose a problem. And second of all, there is quite a ridge up onto the sidewalks. Yes, there is a couple of wheelchair accessible points into like the drugstore, for instance, and into the one store, but that one market that I showed you earlier, Aiken and Fraser's, they don't have a wheelchair ramp into the store. It's stairs up the front, so that is another big problem. Being out in the country can pose another problem. Unless you have a car, like back to the transportation thing, unless you have a car, trying to get around, you really need to plan your day and organize yourself well. Having a vehicle is beneficial. Not a necessity, but is definitely beneficial. It would make your life a lot easier being out here. The fact that there's no bank in Shawnigan anymore is another determinant of health. Most elderly people do need to do their banking on a regular basis. So, if from an elderly woman's standpoint, if she needs to get into town and she's in a wheelchair, she's got a lot of barriers against her. How does she access the bus, getting to and from this bus stop, but also the fact of having to negotiate these roadways. The reason why I've came to the conclusion of these determinants of health is from a nursing standpoint. As an LPN, well, I've been working in the community, and during these home visits, my job is to assess my resident that I'm be seeing, their ability to thrive in their community and stay in their home. These determinants of health that I have pointed out are things that should be addressed and that can dictate whether the individual is able to stay home or not. The pros to living out in Shawnigan Lake is that it's calm, it's quiet, and it's peaceful. The people are friendly, there's a great sense of community, and there is decent amount of services, and there's great churches for people to get involved with and clubs. The cons to living in Shawnigan Lake is the accessibility. the fact that bus service is poor, or that the fact that their bus stops aren't covered or protected, that the soft shoulders aren't really useful or safe for people in wheelchairs. The lack of some services in the village is another con. That the fact that there isn't a bank anymore, and that people do have to travel in order to get, everyday jobs like that done. And if you are an elderly woman who is in a wheelchair, that the fact that you need to negotiate these roads and try to get to a bus stop and access a bus to be able to get into town, that can eat up a lot of time in your day. I'd like to thank you for joining me on this investigative tour of the Shawnigan Lake Village, as I just kind of explored of what's available within the local surrounding area of my house, and of how close things are in proximity, and where the downfalls might be or where improvements could be. I hope you found it enjoyable and or somewhat enlightening, or just answered maybe a few of your questions. But thank you again for joining me. Have a great day.